Everyone loves a good mystery, and solving a good mystery is even better. Unfortunately, not all mysteries can be solved despite evidence and witnesses. Today we look at 5 unsolved mysteries that still remain unsolved to this day. And remember, if you like these kinds of videos, please hit that like button and subscribe for future uploads and updates to these cases. Number 5. The Ketty Cabin Murders. On April 12, 1981, in Ketty, California, the Sharp family and some friends went to sleep inside cabin 28 at the Ketty Resort Lodge. Sheila Sharp would wake up to find her mother, Sue, her brother, Johnny, and their family friend Dana Wingate brutally murdered inside the cabin, while her 12-year-old sister, Tina, was missing from the scene. Sheila only escaped the murders by sleeping at a friend's cabin next door. Surprisingly, they found Sheila's 2 younger brothers, Greg and Rick, and their friend Justin Smart, asleep in another bedroom inside cabin 28 and safe. Tina's remains would be found by an anonymous tip on the 3rd anniversary of the murders. Her skull was found 50 miles away from Ketty in a different county. There were only 2 suspects that the police examined, Marty Smart and his roommate, Bo Bobade. Marty Smart was married to Marilyn Smart, and they were parents to Justin Smart. Marty was apparently an abusive husband. Since Sheila Sharp had just escaped an abusive relationship herself, there were reports that she was giving Marilyn some counseling. When Marty found out that Sheila was interfering in his marriage, he reportedly went ballistic. Soon after the murders, Marty left Ketty for Reno, Nevada. Law enforcement felt that the murders took more than one person to conduct, which is why they took Bo Bobade into questioning as an accomplice. Despite there being so much more to the case, the investigation oddly stopped there. There was evidence that seemingly went unnoticed and people of interest that were not examined properly. The murderer of the Ketty crime has not been identified, and the case remains unsolved. Number 4. The Jamison family disappearance. On October 8, 2009, the Jamison family, 44-year-old Bobby Dale, 40-year-old Sherilyn Leanne, and their 6-year-old daughter, Madison Stormy Starr, were seen for the last time before vanishing without a trace. The family, who lived in Eufaula, Oklahoma, was last seen by a man who lived in the mountains in southeastern Oklahoma. However, the witness claimed that he only saw the family and no one else in that area during the time. The family was there to view a 40-acre plot of land that they were looking to purchase. They were looking to live in a shipping container that they had already been living in on their plot of land in Eufaula. On October 16, 8 days after the Jamisons were last seen alive, the first major discovery in the case occurred. Hunters in a remote location in the woods, about a quarter-mile away from the last spot the Jamisons were seen, discovered the Jamisons' abandoned truck, which was still locked. Inside the truck, investigators found Bobby's wallet, Sherilyn's purse, jackets, a GPS, Bobby's cell phone, $32,000 cash in a bank bag, and the Jamisons' pet dog, Maisie, who was incredibly malnourished, but still alive. Bobby's cell phone had a picture of Madison, and it is believed to have been taken the day before they disappeared. The truck showed no evidence of any kind of struggle. Former Sheriff Beecham remarked, "I think they were forced to stop and got out of the truck to meet with someone they recognized. And I think they either left willingly or by force." The GPS unit in the truck indicated that the family had been farther up a nearby hill, prior to the location where the truck and belongings were found. Investigators followed the coordinates and found footprints. 1 day later, on October 17, 300 people including authorities and volunteers staged a large-scale air and ground search party, but unfortunately, any leads went cold and the search for the Jamisons was called off. On November 16, 2013, hunters were scouting for deer hunting locations when they found partial skeletal remains of 3 bodies, 2 adults, and 1 child. The remains were found less than 3 miles from where the Jamison family had parked their truck 4 years earlier. The search uncovered shoes, bits of clothing, adult teeth, an adult arm and leg bone, and bone fragments. The bones would eventually be confirmed as the missing Jamison family. However, no cause of death was determined, and the circumstances surrounding their disappearance remain unknown. Number 3. The vanishing of Cynthia Anderson. 20-year-old Cynthia Anderson had been raised in a very religious household that followed a schedule that was filled with prayer meetings, swimming events, camping events, seasonal parties, and Sunday worship, all organized by the church she and her family attended. Cynthia's father, Michael Anderson, described his daughter as a quiet and obedient kind of girl who never made waves yet had lots of friends. Cynthia was also a very attractive young woman, and even though her parents had very strict rules, she had a boyfriend who was also a member of the church. That summer, her father reported that Cynthia was spending a lot of time on her face and becoming a bit of a debutante. Cynthia worked as a legal secretary in Toledo, Ohio, but was preparing to quit to attend Bible college, the same one her boyfriend attended. By the way the job was going, her last day couldn't come soon enough. The previous year, on a wall across from Cynthia's desk that was viewable from outside the window, someone had spray painted the words "I love you Cindy" in large letters with smaller by GW in the corner. Cynthia was the only Cindy on that side of the strip mall where the graffiti was located. It seemed intentionally placed that only Cynthia could see it. However, Cynthia had no idea who GW could have been. The message remained there for 6 months until it was eventually covered up. The message appeared again, this time in bigger letters, but it became the least of Cynthia's problems. During the summer of 1981, Cynthia was being harassed by a number of anonymous phone calls with disturbing messages. This frightened her, and she began experiencing nightmares about being attacked by a man. It got so bad that her job even installed an emergency buzzer at her desk, and she kept her office doors locked at all times. Unfortunately, these precautions wouldn't be enough. On August 4, 1981, Cynthia skipped breakfast and left her parents' house around 8:30 a.m. to go to work. She arrived at the law office and was seen as late as 9:45 a.m. Around lunchtime, her employer, James Rabbit, arrived at the office. The lights and radio were on, but there was no sign of Cynthia. The scent of nail polish remover hung in the air, and there was no note, and the phones were still ringing off the hook. There were no signs of struggle, and according to reports, the office door was still locked from the inside. Though her car was still in the parking lot, her keys and purse were missing. Eerily, a romance novel that Cynthia was reading was left open at her desk to a page where the protagonist was abducted at knife point. Cynthia Anderson was never found and her case remains unsolved. Number 2. The disappearance of Karen Horman. On June 4, 2010, 7-year-old Karen Horman was dropped off at Skyline Elementary School in Portland, Oregon by his stepmother Terry. She stayed with him as he attended the school's science fair and walked him down the hall to his class, and left the school around 8:45 a.m. However, he was never seen in his first class and was instead marked as absent that day. At 3:30 p.m., Terry and her husband, Karen's father Kane, walked with their daughter to the bus stop to meet Karen. The bus driver told them that the boy had not boarded the bus after school, however, and to call the school to ask where he might be. Terry did ring the school, only to be informed by the school secretary that, as far as anyone there knew, Karen had not been at school, and that he had been marked absent. Realizing then that the boy was missing, the secretary called the police. The search party for Karen was extensive and primarily focused on the 2-mile radius around Skyline Elementary and on Sauvie Island, which lies 6 miles away. The search for Karen, which happened over a span of 10 days, was the largest in Oregon history and included over 1,300 searchers from Oregon, Washington, and California. A reward posted for information leading to the discovery of Karen, which was initially $25,000, rose to $50,000 in July 2010. Despite the long search, no evidence was ever found. Legal proceedings, including a lawsuit between Karen's mother, Desiree Young, who claims that Terry Horman is responsible for the disappearance of Karen, is still ongoing. However, Karen's whereabouts and the circumstances surrounding his disappearance is still a mystery. Number 1. The disappearance of Dorothy Arnold. Dorothy Harriet Camille Arnold was a wealthy New York socialite. She was the daughter of perfume importer Francis Rose Arnold and his wife Mary Martha Parks Arnold. As far as anyone knew, she had a happy home life. On the morning of December 12, 1910, she left her home on the Upper East Side of Manhattan and told her mother that she was headed downtown to buy an evening dress. According to the New York Times, when her mother asked if she could accompany her daughter, Dorothy said no. "When I find the gown I want, I will telephone you, and you can come down and see it." When she left the house, she had over $30 in her pocket. In today's currency, that would be more than $750. On her way down Fifth Avenue, she stopped at a grocery store on 59th Street to buy some chocolate, then at a bookstore on 27th Street where she bought a copy of Engaged Girl Sketches, the slightly humorous collection of short romantic stories. Around the time when she bought the book, she ran into a friend from college, Gladys King. The two talked about a party that they had both been invited to, the same party that Dorothy was buying a dress for. Gladys left to meet her mother for lunch and Dorothy was never seen again. Francis Arnold was reluctant to gain publicity over his daughter's disappearance, and initially employed the help of private investigators. After those attempts were unsuccessful, the family filed a missing person report with the New York City Police Department in January 1911. Various theories, sightings, and rumors regarding Arnold's disappearance circulated in the years and decades after she was last seen, but the circumstances surrounding her disappearance have never been resolved and her fate remains unknown. Thanks for watching. Hopefully someday these cases will be solved. One could only hope with advances in technology that it could become possible and family and victims can obtain peace. But until then these cases will remain shrouded in mystery. Also please don't forget to like and subscribe, doing so will help this channel grow and would be appreciated.